Hello and welcome. I have some more progress on the barn to show you. I've been quite busy working on getting this barn insulated before the cold weather gets here. In the previous video, I showed you the work done over on the other side of the shop. There was a lot of work to try to fit all into one video, so I didn't really give a lot of details about the process. So for this video, I wanted to try to show a little more than the last one. So with that in mind, we're going to take a look at how I built this wall. A little bit of a disclaimer here. I'm not an expert on wall building, and I'm 100% certain there are some aspects of this build that would not be up to code. But fortunately, this is just a barn, and building to code is not essential for me. I just want to show you what I did, and maybe it'll be helpful, or perhaps entertaining. This section of wall is part of the dividing wall that I'm adding through the middle of the barn, so I can enclose and insulate a place for a workshop. The wall will have one outlet in it, and the wiring will continue down this other wall. I'll be adding 4 20-amp outlets on this side of the barn. There are currently 0 plugs on this whole side of the shop, and it'll be amazing to have a place to plug things in without running any extension cords. Also, this wall is not load-bearing in any way, and I'm using screws, so if I ever have to take it apart, it'll be easier to do so. First thing I need to do, of course, is move all this stuff somewhere else. And it's getting tough to find a place to put anything in this shop now. But with a little editing magic, I'll have this all moved in seconds. I'll also need to move all of this stuff. And I'm getting rid of these old cabinets. These were once the cabinets in the house, and they were never what you'd call high-end. But being down here in the barn for so many years has got them looking pretty bad. I considered trying to salvage some of the materials from these, but most of it's either warped, broken, or just moldy. So I'm going to smash it to bits and burn it out the fire pit. Okay, a couple of cleaning montages later, and I'm ready to get rid of this wall. This is the last remaining wall from the horse stalls. I didn't remove it before because it was serving a purpose as a wall to separate the bee supply area from the shop area. But now it's got to go so that I can put in a new wall with insulation and electrical. These old stalls were really difficult to remove. Remember, they're built for 1,200-pound horses. And I've shown you some of the kick marks on these boards. These walls have to be built solid to keep the horses in, so this might take a while. That wasn't too bad. Okay, I'm going to clean off the boards, pull the nails out, and then these will go up in the loft until I'm ready to use them. Now, just clean up the rest of this mess. I'll also pull the boards off this wall. That's not related to this part of the build, so let's just speed through this part. Time to build our wall. I start on the bottom and get my measurement for the first 2x4, and then head over to the miter saw. Once there, I make my cut. This is the bottom plate for the wall, and it'll be sitting on concrete. So I'm going to put some scrap vapor barrier around it. Without that, the concrete can wick moisture up into the wood and cause it to rot. With the bottom plate covered in plastic, now I drop it into place. I should mention that this 2x4 is not being attached to the concrete in any way, so I want the fit to be snug. I did measure it a little long intentionally, and now I just need to make it fit. Now I'm going to measure and cut another 2x4 that will attach to this post. Once that's in, I can move over to the other side. Over on this side there's a large hole in the siding, so I plugged that up with a bit of plywood. I don't want any rats nesting in my insulation. The wall is not quite going to line up with the studs on the existing wall, so I'm going to add some 2x4 scraps to the stud, so I have a place to attach my wall. I also have to deal with a concrete ledge that the wall sits on. When it comes time to add the paneling, I'll need somewhere to sink staples into, so I end up with this odd arrangement of studs. Next, I measure and cut the top plate and attach it with screws. Now I have what I need to start adding the rest of the studs. The post that I attached the first stud to is not plumb, so for the next stud I measure out 16 inches, standard stud spacing for most walls. But I don't worry about the top being 6 inches from the other stud, I just make sure that it's plumb. Then I can measure all the rest of the studs off of this one and make sure they're all plumb. That went well. All the studs are in, and they're level and square and plumb and whatever else they need to be. I need to add some paneling to the back side of this wall, mostly just so the insulation won't fall out the back. But I'm a bit lazy, so I don't want to have to cut too many panels. So I found that if I start the panels on this stud, then I can use 2 full sheets without having to make any cuts. That'll just leave me with 2 sections to cover on the ends. And for those, I can measure from the edge of the wall to the panel at the top, and then from the edge of the wall to the panel at the bottom, then transfer those measurements onto the new panel. Then I can draw a line and cut it with the skill saw. And I'll make sure that the factory edge butts up against the already installed panel's factory edge. Then with that same sheet of paneling, I can flip it around so I have another factory edge, and do the same thing for the other side. This should help hide the seams a bit. This is also how I'll end up doing the front panels. But first I have to cut a few scraps to cover this top area, since my walls are 9 feet and my paneling is only 8. You may notice a large gap in the panels at the top. I decided I wasn't worried about that because it'll be covered later with other stuff in the B-room. Now I'm going to add some blocking to the wall. I probably should have done this before putting on the back paneling, but this works too. I wanted to set the blocking so the insulation would fit without having to cut it. So on the first row, I measure up from the bottom plate 47 inches. That's the height of the insulation. And then I added my blocking there. Then on the next section, I measure down from the top 47 inches. So the blocking is staggered and easier to attach. I repeat this pattern all the way along the wall, except for the section with the outlet, since the outlet was blocking the blocking. With that all done, I can start on the insulation. Setting the blocking to fit the insulation makes this job a lot easier. This other wall over here will require more work when it comes time to add insulation, since these blocks are all over the place. There, now all the uncut pieces of insulation are in, and that was quick and simple. Now I'll measure and cut for the rest of the gaps. I use this serrated blade to cut the insulation. It works very well. It's like cutting a big, awkward, and smelly loaf of bread. Rockwool has its own odor to it. It doesn't smell terrible or anything, but it's definitely a unique smell. After cutting it to size, I fill the empty space. The first time I added one of these smaller pieces in with an already existing piece, they really bunched up on me. And for insulation to do its job well, it shouldn't be compressed. I figured out that if you pull the existing piece out a little bit, then stack the new one on top of it, then push it all back in, you end up with a much better seam, and the insulation doesn't get so compressed. I do this for all the gaps that are remaining. When it comes to the space with the outlet, I carve a little notch out of the insulation, and then put it in its place. Then fill the last remaining gaps. We're now insulated and ready for vapor barrier. I use a 6mm poly vapor barrier, and I showed this in my last video, but I found a really easy way to cut the poly, using a hook blade and my saw guide. Once it's cut, I staple it to the wall. It seems no matter what I do, I always end up with some ripples in the poly. It's a life goal to get the sheet of poly up without any ripples in it. I left a little overhang on all sides so that I can tie into the other walls and the ceiling when they get their vapor barrier. Also, this roll of poly is not quite long enough for this wall, so I have to add some scrap at the bottom and use tuck tape to seal it. Now I'm ready for the paneling on the front. This will be the same process as the back, but one of them will need a hole cut in it for the electrical outlet. I did some measuring and made some marks, then used the drill to get started, and cut it out with the jigsaw. Now, just like on the back part of the wall, I'll cut one sheet of paneling to cover the ends, making sure that I have factory edges together to try to hide the seams. For the top part on this side, I want to make sure there's no gaps. I'm going to try to hide the seams as much as I can. That means I won't use scraps for this side like I did on the other. I'll make sure that I have a factory edge to match up with the top of the existing pieces. Also, the paneling is pretty warped, and I'm concerned that these parts won't line up, and there's nothing here to nail the panels to. So I use the same trick that I used on the other side of the shop. I add a thin piece of wood behind the panels, so I have something to staple the paneling to. Hopefully that'll help line up the seams a little more. These are never going to be perfect, and the grain difference and the slight variations in panel coloring will always stand out a bit, but I imagine most of these walls will be covered with things eventually anyway. And there it is, the wall's done. Well, except for that electrical. There, now we're done. Thanks for watching. I hope it was either helpful or entertaining, or possibly both. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video.